What's up guys, it's Kazima back with another awesome tutorial, and today I'm going to show you guys how to shoot like Stephen Curry. If you guys want to shoot like this guy, right here, this is the video for you. We're going to watch Shot Max, so let me find the video for you and let's do this. So when this thing load up, we're going to start the video. So, wait for this to load.
Hey, I'm Coach Colin Castell with Shot Mechanics Basketball, and today you're going to learn how to shoot the ball just like Stephen Curry.
Just wait for this to load.
All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about is Stephen Curry's feet when he shoots the ball. Now, your feet are really important because they're kind of the base and the foundation of your jump shot, and that's where everything starts on the way up through. So the first thing I want to talk about is the turn. Now, a lot of coaches will tell you that you need to square up to the basket when you shoot the ball, meaning that all 10 toes are going to face the rim. The problem with this is it has a ton of it makes for your shoulders have a ton of tension. So when you go to release the ball above your head, it makes it really, really difficult to have that smooth one motion release that guys like Steph Curry have. So what I suggest you do, and what Steph Curry does, is you tilt your feet just slightly off to the side. So if you're looking at the three-point line here, you can tell my right foot is closer to it than my left foot. And just having this slight tilt in your feet, make it so as you bring the ball up, you're shooting hip, elbow, shoulder, and all are aligned with the basket. That's going to help you shoot the ball straighter and eliminate a lot of left to right misses. I've seen players that have been square shooters their entire life and increase their shooting percentage maybe 10 to 12% just by turning their feet immediately. So it's something that's really, really important and something that you probably want to try. So take a video of your jump shot, see what you got going on, and then kind of assess. You know, you want to make sure that you're not turned too far or too little. You know, so some.
You guys want to let me ball to shoot like him? This is the video for you. Wait for this to load up and then we get started.
Bigger turn, but where you want to be careful of is that you're not turning.
Yeah, if you turn too much, you're gonna miss the shot. So don't turn too much.
Too much. I've seen players kind of start getting carried away and they start turning at 90 degrees, and then that makes it pretty hard to get all that power and momentum into the basketball as well. So generally you're going to want to turn your feet somewhere between, like if there was a clock on the ground, somewhere between like 11 and 10:30, somewhere in there. But each player is just a little bit different. So think about turning your feet just a little bit, just like Stephen Curry, and it's going to help unlock all that power in your shoulders. It's going to make it a lot easier to shoot with range and consistency. All right, so the next thing that you want to think about on your footwork, much like Stephen Curry, is having your heels up at all times when you're getting ready to shoot the basketball. A major mistake that a lot of players make is when they catch the ball or they're going into it off of a pull-up, is that they plant their heels into the ground as they're stepping into it. Now the issue with this is as you plant your heels, it sucks all your energy and momentum into the ground, and it makes it that much harder to regather it, so it slows your jumper down a ton, you lose a lot of range, and you lose a lot of quickness. So one thing you can do is you can make sure that you're always on the balls of your feet and your heels off the ground, just like this. So you can tell that if I'm on the balls of my feet, my heels or my finger on my eyebrow right here. If I can get my finger up on my eyebrow, it's going to stay in front of my forehead, keeping that smooth one motion all the way to the basket. All right, so next let's talk about Steph Curry's shot line. And the shot line is basically just the path that the ball takes on its way from the catch all the way through the release. Now what a lot of players do is they start their shot line wherever they catch the ball at. But something that Steph's really good at is he keeps his shot line super consistent by always bringing the ball to his shot line instead of adjusting the shot line where he catches the ball. So what I mean by that is this. So let's say a pass comes and it's out here. It's high and to the right. His shot line is always right up the right side of his body, through his eyebrow into the basket. So instead of catching and bringing his right hand over and pulling the ball with his right hand and going into his shot, instead what he does is he takes his left hand on the catch, shoves the ball over into his shot line, and then goes up with it from there. That way, this is always staying the exact same, and really the only kind of changing variables is just getting the ball there. So he's really, really great at bringing the ball over to his right hand instead of having his right hand go and get it. So think about on his pulls, right? He's really good at hitting that left-handed dribble, kind of hesitation pull-up. And the reason why is because a lot of guys, they do their left-handed dribble, they bring their right hand over to catch the ball like this, and then they try to go up and everything's out of alignment. But instead, if you watch him when he goes into his pull-up, he shoots the ball over with his left into his right hand. That way everything's all perfectly aligned to the basket. So always think about, instead of having your dominant hand come get the ball on a bad pass, try to bring the ball to your dominant hand as it's already set and ready to go. That'll make your jumper faster, it'll make it smoother, and it'll make it much more consistent. All right, so we touched on it a little bit before, but Steph Curry has a perfect eyebrow set point. A lot of great shooters shoot like this, like guys like him, sometimes Klay Thompson, Damian Lillard. And basically it's just the idea is as you bring the ball up, the time that it starts moving towards the basket on your release is right when your fingers get to your eyebrow, right about here. So if you look at Steph Curry, when he brings the ball up, most of the time he just kind of sets the ball right up on the top of his forehead right here, and then begins his release up towards the basket. Now this is great because a lot of young players, like I mentioned before, like to shoot from down here on their chest. And this works when they're younger, but the older you get, this makes a huge difference to having the defender be able to get a hand on the ball, block the ball, swat it. So what you want to do is you want to begin to bring it up, but make sure that it doesn't go any higher than your fingers right on your eyebrows right here. Because if you start bringing it up, your elbow's going to go towards the basket and it's going to turn into that two motion shot we talked about earlier. So really, I always just like to take my pointer finger, put it right on my forehead, and that's where I want to bring the ball up to, and then forward on my release. So if you can get that set point up by your eyebrow, it's going to help a ton for arc, it's going to help a ton for smoothness, and you're going to be able to hit more shots because of it. All right, so now let's talk about Steph Curry's release. Now, Steph is what we call a middle finger shooter, meaning that his middle finger is the last finger to touch the ball, and it finishes down towards the ground. Now, there's a couple keys to think about when you're shooting with your middle finger. Number one, you want your middle finger directly in the center of the ball. If on that release, if your middle finger is off to the side, it's going to cause everything to be out of alignment, and you're probably going to miss to the left or to the right. So it's really imperative that on your release, you make sure that your middle finger is in the center of the ball. That way, everything flies straight. Now, the next thing you can do to get this middle finger release is what I call a palm rotation. And this is something that a lot of middle finger shooters do because to get your fingers or your middle finger in the center of the ball, it's kind of hard on your wrist. You get a lot of wrist tension back there. So a palm rotation is just the idea that as you bring the ball up, your shooting hand is going to stay on the outside of the ball, and as you bring it up to your set point, you're going to start to rotate it around so it's behind. So as you bring the ball up, it's on the side, rotate it around to where it's on the back, and then fall through with your palm down towards the ground. Now, a lot of coaches will tell you that this is bad because there's extra motion, but really it's pretty repeatable and it's pretty simple to do. And it's something that a lot of middle finger shooters, guys like Steph Curry and myself, do when you're shooting a basketball. So again, keys here. You want your middle finger in the center of the basketball, and you want to use that palm rotation to rotate the ball around as it comes up to your set point, and then snap your wrist through the follow through. All right, so next let's talk about Steph's guide hand. Now, a lot of coaches will tell you that on your release, as the ball comes up, you want your guide hand facing straight towards the ceiling. And this works for some players, but for some players it works better if you point it towards your target a little bit. So guys like Steph Curry and James Harden, they're really good at when they have this guide hand come up, they keep it on the ball for enough time, and then as it comes out, they're going to rotate their guide hand forward so their fingers are facing towards the basket and their thumbs straight up in the air. Now, where this gets to be a little bit of an issue is if your palm starts rotating because you're pushing with your thumb, and so it's pointing down. So this is no. You don't want both palms facing towards the ground. But if you can bring the ball up and then flex your wrist forward, pointing towards the basket, it's going to help guide the ball longer, and it's going to keep it straighter. Because what a lot of athletes do is they have the issue of they bring it up, their guide hand's great, and then it gets really tense right here with the wrist, and so they just drop it off too early. And a lot of misses can come in that last little bit of your release. So if you can keep that guide hand straight with it and then flop it over just like your wrist, it's going to help you out quite a bit to stable that ball for those last crucial seconds of flight. All right, so another issue that a lot of players have is the extension of their arm on the follow through. And this is something that Steph is awesome at. So when you release the ball, you want to make sure that your arm is completely straight on the release. If it's bent at all, it makes it really hard to repeat that exact same spot every time. So it takes a lot longer to develop your muscle memory over time. So if you notice when Steph shoots, every time he releases the ball, he locks that arm out, gets a nice snap of the wrist, and therefore it's a lot easier for him to repeat. He's not having to try to find that exact same little bend each time. So what I would highly recommend, film yourself shooting, and if you finish with any sort of bend in your arm, I would work on straightening it out because number one, you're going to get better snaps, so you're going to get better range and release, and number two, it's going to be much more consistent over time. You're going to be able to build up muscle memory a lot faster, so you're going to be a better shooter a lot quicker. So think about that. On your release, lock that arm straight out, and if you do that, you'll be pretty consistent. All right, so now I want to make sure that we solidify these shooting mechanics. So I've got some great drills for you that if you do these over time will help you shoot a lot like Steph Curry. So the first one we're going to do is what I like to call bounce-ups. So you're going to go to whatever range is comfortable. It might be 15 feet, it might be the three-point line, and all you're going to do is you're going to bounce the ball above your head,
I'm just gonna.
You gotta go above your head, okay? Because I want you to react here. So you're gonna bounce the ball above your head, and you're gonna do a 2-footed hop into your jumper. Now, what we're thinking about here are two main things. Number one, powering off the balls of our feet like we talked about earlier. And number two, adding a little bit of a dip for rhythm. So what I don't want you to do, I don't want you to bounce the ball up, catch it at your chest, and go up from your chest. I want you to bounce it up, catch high, bring it down to your waist, and then back up, because that's going to be much more fluid than if you just catch and go straight up. The other thing we want to think about, like I mentioned, is staying on the balls of your feet. Remember the diving board analogy I gave you earlier, right? As you spin the ball yourself going into this drill, you're going to power off the balls of your feet with very little contact time. Again, pretend and picture like you're bouncing off of a diving board, trying to get as much spring as you possibly can. So all you're going to do is you're going to move around the 3-point line, spin the ball to yourself, powering up after you bounce the ball above your head, just like this. Bam, ball goes up, dip, shot goes up. All right, so the next drill we're going to use to develop this smooth one-motion jumper. So you're going to get to somewhere in the 15-foot range, and all you're going to do is you're going to set the ball on the ground, and it's going to be outside of your dominant foot. So I'm right-handed, so the ball's going to be on the outside of my right foot, just like this. So all you're going to do is you're going to come, step in, grab the ball off the ground, and you're going to shoot it towards the hoop in one fluid motion. So I'm picking it up and shooting it towards the hoop. So the idea here is that we're kind of forcing ourselves to not shoot a 2-motion jumper, because it's really hard to pick the ball up, cock it back, and then throw it forward and keep it smooth, right? So what I want you to think about is picking the ball up and then shooting in one fluid, smooth motion towards the basket. This will help you get kind of that one motion down and kind of eliminate your 2-motion stroke. All right, so the next drill, we're going to work on that pickup that Steph Curry does to keep that perfect shot line. So these are just transition 3. So all you're going to do is you're going to start with the ball at the dribble outside the 3-point line with your inside hand. So wherever you're at on the court, you're going to start with the ball on your inside hand. And as you drive towards the 3-point line and you're getting ready to shoot, we're going to think about having our heels off of the ground, and we're working on that pull over to our dominant hand on the shot. So if we're on the right side of the floor, since we got our inside hand and I'm right-handed, I'm pulling it over to my right hip and then going into my jumper just like that. By pulling it over and going up, we work on that perfect repeatable shot line. Now it's going to change a little bit if you're going to pull up with your right hand. So if I'm on this side of the court,